I think the mission has been very successful. Our goals essentially were to meet with authorities, institutions, civil society organizations, and people concerned about the situation in Nineveh, in Iraq, and in the region more broadly, and to make visible to them what is actually being done on the ground. Most of the discussion at the moment around how to deal with Daesh and the situation in Syria and Iraq is focusing on the military response. But what we're seeing through the Ninive Paths to Peace project, which is supported by Ponte, is that engaging with local communities, with youth activists, with women activists, women who've been affected by the violence, communities that have been displaced, and also with local authorities and the provincial council, we're seeing that there's a real will and a desire of people themselves in the communities to get involved, working to overcome the legacies and the impacts of the violence, working to bring about direct community reconciliation between Shia, Sunni, Kurds, Yazidis, Christians, all of the people of what was once the most culturally, ethnically, and religiously diverse area of Iraq. And the meetings have been quite important and quite successful. We're seeing from within the government ministries and the Senate committees and the Parliament, there is a recognition that not only is a military means not enough, and military means on its own could never actually address the real causes and reasons of what is happening in Iraq and Syria, but we need to go beyond recognizing that, we need to go beyond saying that to practical support for concrete peace-building measures on the ground. That's been the focus, that's been what we've tried to bring forward, and also to tell the story of the real heroes of Nineveh, which are the women and men, the youth, the elders, the religious, the tribal leaders who in the midst of one of the worst wars and violence in the world today are coming together and working together for peace-building and reconciliation.
Which is for you the most important things of Ninive Paths project? If you have to focus on one aspect.
Most important element of the Ninive Paths project, I think, is the clear recognition that it's only the people of Nineveh themselves that have the right to own the peace process. They're the ones that have been affected by the war. They're the ones who, in the long term, need to sustain and engage in the practical building up of trust, the healing, not only from the violence that has happened in the last years with Daesh, but the reality is Iraq has been under 30 years of war, occupation, invasion. And we're seeing that will, we're seeing that engagement from people. And what's incredible is that you have people from different communities who normally would be on very polarized different ends of the conflict, and through the continual work and engagement together have come together like family. We're having Sunni women bring delegations of Sunni women to camps to meet with the Yazidi women to discuss together how they've been affected, and instead of deepening and continuing the divisions between them, are uniting together in a women's peace alliance. We have the youth who, once they discover that there's actually things they can do for peace building, things they can do to not continue the cycles of violence and just be overwhelmed by the hate media and messages that they're often getting, but that they can actually get involved to build something better. And they're going and creating youth peace centers, a youth peace alliance. One of the things that's incredible that I wish people from the outside could see is, in reality, what we've done is very little. We've created a space, we've shown authentic respect and engagement, and we've brought deep knowledge and understanding of how peace building works. And we've engaged with not NGOs, not organized structures but the people, the communities, tribal leadership, religious leadership, local authorities, survivors, grassroots activists, and worked with them on this, gone in depth into making sense of what has happened to them and what they can do. And they're taking that and they're getting involved. So I think the success has been an incredible empowerment of the people themselves whose future it really is. what we're trying to do is help make others, external actors, donors, foreign governments, people abroad who, when they see what's happening in Iraq and Syria, feel so overwhelmed, that it feels so large that they think nothing can be done. We're trying to get them to see that the people on the ground are doing things, real things, practical things, creating local peace committees to mediate and resolve disputes, engaging when there's tensions to help de-escalate them. And that's where the peace building efforts need to also take place, because that's where the violence can explode. So this work is being done in a context that few people could imagine. And what we're hoping is that through these efforts, we can also raise that support internationally for what people are doing on the ground in Nineveh. And then learning from this, also increase that support for real practical solutions, not selling more weapons, not more military intervention, not more creating giant enemy images of evil actors and blaming everything on them, but grown-up, intelligent, mature, real, working to address deep, complex problems by empowering, supporting the communities and actors on the ground, not only in Iraq, but also in Syria, in Libya, in Yemen, which has been completely ignored. And citizens in Europe, all of us, governments, we need to engage, because it's not enough for our governments to say, yes, we know that bombing isn't enough, and then to go and support millions and millions and cumulatively billions of euros worth of investment in only military responses. We need to both stop the bad practice, stop selling weapons in the region that are being used against civilian populations, stop providing weapons and support and enabling financial transactions that are not only supporting Daesh, ISIS, but going to many different groups using violence, and start channeling that support to peace-building efforts and also political, economic, and diplomatic engagements to help resolve conflicts on the ground.
So we can say that there is still hope for peace in Iraq.
There's hope for peace born of the choices that people are making and the action they're taking. And that's what we have to understand. Hope isn't something that just exists. Hope, to be real, needs to be a result of our choices and actions. Now, the people on the ground are taking those choices and actions. The next step is up to us to do the same to support.